pure truth exchange. And with that said, let's go ahead and get our guest of the evening in here, and that is the Occult Priestess, Korinne Wilson. What's going on, Korinne?
Hey, Gigi. Thanks for having me over at your crib.
Absolutely. And, so the whole pretext to this is I posted something on, what was it?
Facebook.
The Göbekli Tepe thing that my stepdad, who is kind of, he's like my other dad. Well, I guess that's what stepdad surprised me with a gift that is a replica of one of the pillars of Göbekli Tepe that's made out of crystal. It's a tiny little thing. If you go to our Instagram, that's Shift Happens podcast. Go to the Instagram. So Korinne, made a comment, and she said something along the lines of, "Have you been paying attention to what's been going on in this community?" And I can honestly say I've had a pretty crazy week, and I have not. So with that said, we've got a day, but Korinne has aligned her life to the point where she's basically made it her job to keep on top of all this stuff. So with that said, there's no better person to have on here to explain what's going on in this community than Korinne Wilson. And that's why we have her here. And with that said, how are you, Korinne?
Hey. I'm feeling interesting. Things are interesting nowadays. You posted a beautiful piece of art, and I totally ignored the beautiful piece of art and the story attached to it and said, "Hey, Gigi, do you know what's going on?"
I noticed that, yeah.
And then you got a hold of me tonight and said, "Hey, why don't you come hit me? Instead of just talking over the phone, why don't we actually talk about it on air so everybody who might have missed the party, can get caught up on the facts of what has gone down recently in our community." And, the last show you had me on, I was actually replacing one of the people that is in this controversy.
Yeah, and that's, yes, exactly right. And
tonight, I guess I'm replacing all of them again, because here I am. Where are they?
Yeah, and this is once again, for anybody, there's no reason to explain that, because if you're listening, you already know where it is. If you're not listening, then you don't. So
this is where we can use the word occult, my title. Occult means literally like some deep stuff, like hidden from the uninitiated. But on an exoteric level, on a mundane level, the occult simply means hidden. You can have occult pneumonia, meaning you have pneumonia that's hiding in your chest and you can only see it with an X-ray.
Okay, and with that said, I'm just going ahead and bust out the gate right here. Is what you have to share? Does it have anything to do with Jordan Sather and Teresa Yanaros and Jason Rice and that whole situation?
Yeah, it's the SSP TM, no TM, which was Daniel of Dark Journalist actually started a hashtag on Twitter, which was no SSPTM, no secret space program trademark. And that was the big bombshell that hit the community, is that there was a trademark out there for the secret space program. That was the first kernel of popcorn, if you will.
Okay, see, that's weird because, so essentially they're trying to trademark the term SSP, or secret space program, which is, that's like somebody trying to trademark the kickflip, the most basic skateboarding trick. Everybody does it. Everybody skates. We all do kickflips. And really, somebody's going to trademark the kickflip to where you can't do a kickflip without getting sued? That's kind of about, or for those that don't skate.
Wait a second, man. This is deep, because so Walter Bosley, you know him, right?
No, I don't actually.
Oh, well, he's a researcher and an author, and he's in our community. And he said you are allowed to trademark things that are fictional, like Harry Potter. And that's not
Wow.
what they were trying to do as far as we know. But if they were science fiction writers and it was their term, then that's totally cool. But that's not the context. And the funny thing is here, I think as critical thinkers, we have to think of context versus the narrative. That's really a deep thought, but the narrative is the story you're being given. And the context is like the town it takes place in. And if you're only looking at one or the other, you're not seeing the full, complete picture.
Yeah, and you see, there's a very fuzzy line there, and that is, the secret space program is, depending on who you ask, it might be a mythical legend, or it might be a fact. I'm pretty sure that everybody in this community understands that there is a secret space program. That's why we do these radio shows. We expose those things, so we know it's real.
Yeah, and there's different angles. Like one lady, extremely famous, Catherine Austin Fitz. She used to work for our government as the head of HUD, and she knows, and she does a lot of research. And she's been in the business of the money changers in the temple, basically, in my opinion. But she has traced that a lot of the black money is going towards these anomalous labels like secret space program, because she was there helping in a position to help poor people. So she was looking at where the funds go. And she's been tracking that for years. In fact, she's famous for it. So she actually came out about this, Walter Bosley. And then I don't know if you heard Richard Dolan on Fade to Black the other night. They spoke about this.
Yeah.
And Jimmy actually did an interview late summer, I believe. So it wasn't that long ago on an affiliate's. What is his? I want to call him Roger Moore because he reminds me of 006. It's the Moore Show. I'm not too familiar with him, but I did watch that interview. It was amazing. So the Moore Show interview with Jimmy Church, I highly recommend to get a background.
Hold on one second. So Jimmy Church was on his show.
Yeah, at his house.
Can you post? No worries.
Well, you got to know that my Twitter feed is full of all of this information. At Occult Priestess has all of these links. I've been very, on top of it for 7 days since it's broken.
Yeah, there you go. Right there. Just go right there and you can find it all. And
there's so many voices because I'm not speaking for... I'm saying what's happened in our community, and there's so many voices that are unified for the first time. There's people going on people's shows that we didn't even know knew each other. I mean, there's a lot of community phenomenon happening here too, even though it was kind of a fight over a trademark. A lot more happened than that.
I just don't understand.
But everyone is focused on trademark. I want you to know that.
Yeah, and that's the first thing. And, real quick, I just want to state the obvious is the reason why we're talking with Korinne right now is because she is the most, if you deal her any amount of bullshit, she will call it out right away, and she will denounce any sort of bullshit that is being presented. And that's why Korinne is one of my favorite people, because there's other folks like a lot of friends of mine who, just because they're made aware of something, they might have a contract with a network or another, and they're, it's not in their best interest to talk about certain things. Whereas Korinne is just like, fuck you, fuck that. This is what's happening right now. Listen to me. And that's... This
might be philosophical, but doesn't that mean I'm actually moral?
Yeah, no, you're way more moral than, because you don't have these... I also have restrictions on my network, which is, by the way, why we're doing this not on the main channel. This is on the B-Sides and Rarities channel, because we want to fully be able to discuss what she has to share. And now, I know you sent me a link, it was probably about a week or two ago. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I do and I don't want to get into this because some of the people involved are guests that we were looking forward to having on. But at the same time, this needs to be discussed, and nobody is talking about it. And that is, let's put it this way. We all remember when Corey Good came out. And, in fact, I was there at the Conscious Life Expo. I don't know if it was 2016, 2015, I forget which one. But the first time he ever came out publicly. And I was there for that. And I saw how that went down. And now what we're seeing is there's the next Corey Good, which is coming in the form of Jason Rice. This is, once again, it's Gaia backing, it's in the music industry, this is what we would call a development deal. This is, there's,
well, you must understand that Jason Rice is not under contract. He shot with them once.
Real? Oh,
he's not under contract like a t-shirt guy.
Are you sure? Because he did.
I'm 100% sure because
Okay.
Jason told me himself. I've spoken with Jason Rice.
Oh, well, that changes everything. But before,
Boom, game changer.
Let's pretend you didn't just say that, and let's go back about 10 seconds, and let's say that as of a couple weeks ago, nobody knew who that guy was. Gaia did 2 different show segments with him that released,
which I have not seen, by the way.
That released on the same day. No, the day before that he made his first public radio appearance on Fade to Black with Jimmy Church.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that was his first. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so it was, once again, it's just like when Corey Good came out. It's just all of a sudden, boom, Gaia's covering him, boom, he's on Fade to Black, boom, he's on Coast to Coast, boom. Like this Jason Rice guy.
Where else did Jason go?
I don't know. I haven't, like I told you when we were talking on the phone before, I haven't been able to.
I don't think he has. There's very few select places.
Well, I think he's probably. I could be totally. Like I said, this last week I've been totally engulfed in my other job. I haven't been able to keep up with this community like I usually do.
Well, of course you're great. So he went on Fade to Black and he told his super soldier story, right?
Exactly, but since then I have, you would expect, because once something like that happens, you're either going to get a bunch of audience praise, or you're going to get a bunch of people going, boo! Like there's either one or the other. There's not really a middle ground there. And
okay.
I haven't seen either of those taking place in the last
But
week.
you haven't been looking. You just admitted.
Good point. I also have not been looking, but at the same time, with all of the people from my network and the other shows that are on the network, and even my friends that are doing shows on other networks, this conversation has not come up yet, and that's
wow.
Yeah.
I think you guys are late because we've already it's already done. It's finished.
Okay, well, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, so the first thing that's kicked the bee's nest after he was on Fade to Black that I know of is that he received a legal letter from a lawyer with a lawyer's name on it saying, do not use SSP because we're trademarking it. This is going to be Corey Goods only.
Okay, so let's, right now, before we go any further, let's get to the bottom of this. Who is trying to trademark the term SSP, or in other words, Secret Space Program? Who is that?
Corey Good. Mr. Good. Yes.
Does he really, once again,
that's what people have been freaking out all week. Everything you have in your brain has been said.
That's actually the stupidest thing I've ever heard in the last 6 months. Like, really? That's like,
that has been said too.
That's like anybody
Walter
listening.
Bosley went off. You should hear him. It's funny.
Anybody listening, I'm sure you probably remember back in the 90s, Metallica tried to copyright and patent a guitar chord. A guitar chord. They actually tried to make it so that nobody else could play that chord except for Metallica. And obviously they lost because that's absolutely a preposterous claim. And here we are now seeing the exact same amount of preposterousness. I hope that's a word. If it's not, I just made it a word.
Preposteri. Let's make it single.
This is just as much of a preposteri situation.
Well, I'll let you know, we had a professional lawyer in the community on the situation. Somebody who's been like talking about Corey Goode for quite a while and, you know, trying to figure out what was going on with Corey Goode in general. But then all of a sudden he sees the legal letter and he's a lawyer. So all of a sudden he's kind of useful and he starts putting out, you know, the information about legality, trademark, and how it's just, this can't happen. And of course, there's a YouTuber, Dark Journalist, who also has done a lot of hours of work on this recently.
By the way, not to cut you off, but I highly recommend everybody looking into the Dark Journalist on YouTube. There's a lot of... just delve in to that.
I like his other work. I like the mystery school work. It's very interesting to hear someone talk about the antique stuff. Who's doing that anymore? Manly P. Hall is dead, but at least we have a journalist out there that's talking about the mysteries. That's nice. Anyway, That's a totally different topic.
Yeah. Anyway, back on subject. Yeah.
So we had C.W. Chanter, who is the lawyer, legal, real life lawyer, and he kind of tore the document apart legally many times, graphically. And so if you want any of the straight up legal information, you'll find C.W. Chanter on YouTube and Twitter. I mean, these people are everywhere. You know how we roll.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is anything about taking sides or anything. Everyone has their own opinion. I'm just glad everyone's talking for once.
Well, but that's the thing, is that not everybody is talking at once. There are multiple networks, like we talked about before, that have decided to not touch on this subject, which is why, quite literally, why I wanted to do this.
Yeah, you don't want to be Switzerland.
This show has no affiliation to the Fringe FM or any network. This is my own GG, situation. So if anybody has any complaints about what we're talking about, don't blame the Fringe, because this is not a Fringe FM show. So
you look around at your peers and you say, oh my gosh, my peers are not addressing this. And you had to come to the Fringe, like a weird person, me, to get the information, when I think that it's a story about community in the end.
It really is. It really is. And, and so one thing when it comes to, I forgot his name, but, so the last time I talked to you before today, the other time, I told you that we were at the Portal to Ascension conference, and Jordan Sather was there.
Yep.
Teresa Yanaros was there. And here's the thing, is that Teresa, we do every major conference, we're there. We meet everybody. We talk to everybody. That's what we do. That's part of our job. It's not just part of our job, it's just that we would do that anyway. It just so happens that coincides with what we should be doing anyway, if that makes any sense. So with that said, that weekend I hung out with Teresa Yanaros quite a lot. In fact, we climbed a tree together. We also got kicked out of climbing that tree by the security guard at the same time. And we had so many great the best way I can explain it is, so she did a presentation. Obviously, she was one of the guest speakers at the Portal to Ascension conference in Irvine, California, a couple of weeks ago.
Along with Jordan Sather.
Yeah, actually, I missed Jordan's presentation. We didn't get there in time because our show was on Friday. We had to do our show on Friday, so we didn't get there till Saturday. Which Jordan.
Well, I caught Jordan at UPARS LA.
Yeah,
with Steve Murillo. That's his group. Yeah.
Yeah, he's that's kind of ironic too, because Steve Murillo seems like such a a legitimate guy. But here's the thing:
He is. He didn't really know much about Jordan. It was set up for him. It was no big deal. It was just another speaker to him.
But here's the thing I want to get to, and if Teresa or Jordan is listening to this, don't get me wrong. Just understand that we're just speculating from a very normal human perspective, and that is that, when you go to these conferences, whether it's Contact in the Desert, Conscious Life Expo, Alien Snowfest, whatever the conference is, really all of the speakers are age-old, long OGs in the business. Robert Schoch, Robert Perala, Graham Hancock, those guys. That's who's talking. But all of a sudden, within this last year, we're seeing the likes of Jordan Sather and Teresa Yarnaros, which is interesting because
but Jordan, they were also lumped together. Both of them called Corey's Kids as part of a marketing campaign towards younger people. So you're kind of making that point.
Exactly. And I'm going to, just 1 second. That's where we're going. Exactly. But from my direct perspective, initially I'm thinking, okay, Jordan is younger than me. He has no background in anything.
Health food.
Why is he able to talk here? And then you come to Teresa, which honestly I have to say, out of any guest speaker that I've ever hung out with post-conference, she was the coolest person ever. Like I said, we climbed a tree. We were hanging out all night.
Well, that's your conjecture and your stuff.
At the same time,
it's your experience.
See, here's what I would say about Teresa is that.
But what about her background? You just brought up just Jordan's. So,
that's the
what
thing,
is Teresa's?
Teresa's background is nothing. She has no background in this industry whatsoever. She's just this young girl who's, she doesn't look bad. She's pretty good looking. But at the same time...
everybody looks good, Gigi.
No, she's beautiful. I love that girl. But at the same time,
we're a good-looking crowd, if you've noticed.
She doesn't have... Okay, let's compare her to Robert Schoch. Robert Schoch...
I don't... He's not an occultist. He's probably a scientist. It's hard for me to compare. Is she a mystic? Does she talk about ascension?
No, but we're not comparing in that sense. We're just comparing in the sense of due diligence that has been, acquired.
You mean vetting?
To desert vetting, yeah. Like a vetting process to where if you're speaking at this conference, it's because you've been doing years of work. And everybody has appreciated that work to the point where people want to pay to see you.
Gigi, it's never been that way. Not really. Well, I've been in the psychic fair since I was a teenager, and it's always a popularity contest, my friend.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, yes and no. But let me just finish this real quick, and I'll definitely get your... Trust me, I want to hear what you have to say about this. Is that Robert Schoch, for example, he's been doing this for decades. When he gives a speech, everybody shows up, and we listen because he deserves us to listen to him because he's been doing this for so many years.
He's got street credit. I totally get it.
Yeah, he's got... There you go. Street credit. Most simply put, he's got street credit. Teresa Yarnaros and Jordan Sather don't have any street credit whatsoever.
That was part of Dark Journalist's point.
And before we get to that, I just want to mention that they were given the exact same spotlight that Robert Schoch was given. So now you have these two young people that literally have not actually done, like I said, I love Teresa. I hung out with her. She's cool.
You made
Jordan's
that really
cool
clear that you really do adore her as a person, and that's really sweet.
Yeah, I would probably marry her right now.
Oh, well, hey, don't go too far, dude. Be careful.
But with that,
you might be stalking.
Yeah, no, but with that said,
I'm teasing
they really, how in the hell are these two people actually getting headlining spots at these conferences without any whatsoever they have not accomplished anything. They're just
because they're with Corey Good, because Corey Good is introducing them.
And that's exactly, I'm glad you said those exact words. That's exactly where I wanted to take this conversation, and this is where we're going to go for right now. So who, how, what, Teresa, the other guy, why were they accepted?
Come on, Gigi.
Why were they initiated? Like, what separates them from some homeless guy on Highland Boulevard in North Hollywood asking for change? They have no credibility. And once again, I don't mean to...
Let me talk about this really quick at the tactics of darkness, and I'm not pointing fingers at who's dark. I'm just saying darkness in a situation.
Okay.
So the way that it works, gang stalking and things like this. So it's not just a spiritual situation. It can be seen in a real situation like targeted individuals and gang stalking. But the way that cults work and the way that darkness works in groups, okay, I'm not pointing any fingers, is that they will put the less intelligent ones above the intelligent ones. So it's actually to push forward people who are easily handled and controlled, and to control an entire narrative through a smaller group of people. And it works as if like a virus almost, but I'm kind of getting too scientific and maybe even also too philosophical, but I hope you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, keep going.
It's just how darkness works in groups. My latest blog is Dark Worker versus Light Worker, which does explain a lot of the dynamics. But if you do watch videos about targeted individuals, gaslighting, these are the same tactics that actual evil uses. And sometimes people are acting as, agents of darkness. And it's Halloween, let's be spooky. But, if you're compromised, if you're not healthy, loving yourself, you've never had a chance, no one's ever taught you how to love yourself, then you're easily, sheep to the wolves. Yeah. And just like in the celebrity society, a lot of these people, we would term them as victims, as they've been used, like the Manson family and things like that. And Richard Dolan has brought up the Manson family in connection with talking about how darkness works. And this, honestly, as a community, we're very afraid of cults in general because they do tend to infiltrate from time to time, and we don't forget what happened before, and we remember because it's still a part of our lives. So there's a bit of watchdog going on here, but thank goodness we have a few of those in the community.
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing that I'm really confused about is that, like I said before, Teresa Llaneros, which I'm sure everybody probably knows who that is. She's been doing,
Who is?
Teresa Llaneros.
Knows who is.
What?
Who does she know?
Well, she knows everybody. She's been on, 6 months ago, nobody knew who that was. Nobody, it was just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bam! Teresa Llaneros. She's everywhere.
Connections, baby.
She's on this show.
The only thing that does that is connections, and you know that. You went to high school.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that because I watched her whole presentation at the, what's it called? The
Portal to Ascension.
Portal to Ascension conference. And see, here's the thing, is that her whole presentation was beautiful. It was absolutely, it was great. It was amazing.
I heard it just recently tonight on CW Chanter's channel. Someone was saying that they heard Teresa speak, and she was like effervescent, like she was sparkling. He was very, very impressed with her. And I met her, and I don't feel the same way, and that's totally cool. But he loved it.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that after the conference, we hung out, and like I said, we climbed up a tree and sat on a tree and talked for a little bit. And that person that I talked to in the tree was not the same person that gave that presentation, if that makes
Well, maybe
any
she's
sense.
channeling, or she's an agent.
Well,
that's the whole thing the community has to ask. Are people super soldiers? Are they channeling? Are they remote viewing? But they don't remember the old ways that we used to do these things and the old language we used to use. These things are all changed now to a new verbiage.
Yeah. See, no, I think it's more of sort of she's just 100% a Hollywood actor sort
That's
of thing.
an agent.
She was hired by Gaia, obviously. Okay. Like, if this, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is
No, that makes
happening.
a lot of sense. I totally get it.
Just for the record, I'm not saying that this is what has happened. But let's say that Gaia wanted to hire a young, beautiful, cute, like down to earth, like she can relate. You know, they were looking for a particular person, and she fit that mold, and they got her, and they gave her a presentation that they. No, this is totally speculation.
Well, I have something that isn't speculation.
I'm not saying that. You know, I'm not necessarily saying that what she presented that night was not genuinely what she had to say. But what I am saying is that it wouldn't surprise me one bit if every single word that she projected that night was, you know, told to her to present on behalf of some corporation.
Because you felt she was a completely different person in the tree. That's really sweet.
Well, that's the thing is.
But also, we need to look at her father. If you look at his Facebook page, you will see that he worked for Lockheed Martin Corporations. He was a weapons contractor. These people do have histories, but they're not in our field. And you do have to look at their parents. And that's something that, Dolan brought up. He's like, look at Jim Morrison's father. And if you do, then you'll understand that these people have a family bloodline lineage. They're not just thrown out there. They're just not picked like a, I can't even say like a musketeer, because those musketeers are set up too. You see, this is our microcosm of what's going on in the big world.
Yeah, exactly. And real quick, so who killed, you know, Jim Morrison? Why did he have to die?
Well, he was part of the 27 Club, so you understand that was an operation. And they had to control the narrative just as they are now. But instead, in my opinion, they're not controlling the narrative necessarily by killing people, but by planting stories that are fake and putting people in snipe hunts.
That's a great way to perfectly said, but at the same time, let's go back.
The researchers are getting angry that they feel like their research is going to be shut down because they won't be able to talk about it anymore. Now, they're not what they call woo-woo. The researchers are more scientific, and they're getting pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Because this affects them, too. If they can't say secret space program, it affects their writing.
Yeah, but here's the thing with... I don't know. I don't know how to say this other than, you know, we were at the, what's it called? The Portal to Ascension.
Portal to Ascension, yeah.
Conference last week. Well, that was a couple.
It feels like last week.
Yeah, it feels like last week. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we were there. And so this is just the thing that trips me out, is because Teresa did such a good job. Like, I saw all, you know, not all, but the 2 days that we were there, we saw as many conferences and speakers as we could, and hers was easily, arguably, without a doubt, the best. She engaged with the audience.
Think she's an actress.
No, she engaged with the audience. She just even Robert Schock, his presentation was absolutely epic. But Teresa Yanaros' presentation was a little bit more engaging, if that makes any sense. But then, after that, like I said, we're climbing a tree and hanging out and talking. And the person that I was talking to in the tree was not at all, in any sense of any means of any terms, the same person that presented the presentation that she presented earlier that night. It's like,
so you're saying she's not really living her talk. It's not a part of her own inner narrative.
Yeah, I guess it's either that she just really knows how to separate work from pleasure, or she just got some kind, like, I mean, that's it. Actually, forget the or. It has to be, like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, it was two different fucking people. And, sorry to drop the F-bomb there. But yeah, seriously, two different fucking people.
Do you know anything about MK Ultra?
Not enough. I know what it is, and I know a couple of people I can
surmise just that there's a splitting of the personality. There are sub-personalities, and when it's time, they get triggered into the prime personality, the performer, and then when it's time, they get triggered back into regular playdate person, and they can have many different alters.
Yeah,
and that's what's been happening to celebrities and super soldiers, and maybe more.
Yeah, because there's that's one thing I can say for sure, is that the Teresa Yarnaros that I hung out sitting in a tree was a totally 100% different human being from the person that had a presentation on the stage at the conference. Like, absolutely not the same person whatsoever.
Well, I can say I've hung out with Wilcock, right? And he is totally the same person, completely, 100%, on stage, off stage, David Wilcock.
Yeah.
But I haven't hung out with Corey Good, so I don't know that story.
Honestly, I've hung out with Corey quite a bit, not just last year, but the year before, and in fact, the year before that was his first appearance, and I'm talking about the Conscious Life Expo.
That's my favorite one, dude. I'm just going to give a shout out, Conscious Life Expo.
Yeah, honestly, that's, Contact in the Desert used to be
I've never
the best.
been, I can't say.
Well, here's what I will say, is Contact in the Desert was the best as long as it was in Joshua Tree.
Let me finish up the story, can I, please?
Yeah.
Get us to where we are now.
Yeah.
So there were lots of podcasts, like hundreds of podcasts were done about, videos were done about this, interviews were done about this. Again, see my Twitter for the list of everyone who was involved. And what came down to was Corey retracted the SSP trademark and canceled a Halloween ball that was going to happen, and it had something to do with announcing the movie that he's coming out with soon. And that the movie announcement is still going to be happening in the beginning of November. Maybe it's a sneak peek or something. But all of this information is easily found on onstellar.com. If you go to what's trending and even what's new, you'll see articles not only on Corey Good's movie that's going to be premiering, and I believe that David Wilcock worked with him on that. But also you can see people who are having different opinions in the community, and as the community are interacting with each other, OnStellar is kind of a little petri dish where you can get a little flavor of everything going on.
Okay, so is is David and oh my God, what's his name? So obviously, David Wilcock is no longer
with Gaia.
Yeah.
No, they're Satanists. He can't be with Gaia. But this is the funny part. I saw some spin doctoring going on, saying that Daniel, who's the one he's the bull with the horn, but most of everybody was just as inflamed by the topic. But some people were accusing the people who were saying no copyright, that they were with Gaia, that they worked for Gaia, that they were Gaian agents. And that was just so silly. It was funny. Actually, a lot of this, if you can be lighthearted and chill out, it can be fun.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is no matter where you get your information from, there's always going to be, some bullshit,
This has nothing to do with our souls. This is not the hard stuff. This is not the very, very important stuff. But we're seeing socially that things are changing and there's a revolution going on. And that's very exciting, especially in our community. We haven't had anything like this since 2012.
Yeah, actually, you're you're completely right. We've all kind of been trying to talk about the same thing. But all of a sudden, this last year, it seems like people are being bought out.
Ooh.
You see what I mean? And
I'm not used to this stuff. I'm a YouTuber. We're all independent.
Yeah.
I don't even know how your business works, literally. I do not know how you get paid. I don't know.
Well, it's not enough. I'll say that.
Well, you don't have to tell me. I'm just saying I literally am clueless. I just do YouTube. I'm just that. I just teach.
Yeah, it's just that, I don't know. I'm going to try to boil this down to one single point, which is I guess the real problem is there's too many different. Okay, because let's take it
diversity
back.
Is our strength. I'm teasing.
It used to be, but diversity is now our weakness. Because
it is. George Soros pays for diversity training. I mean, it's just not a good thing. Go ahead. Your point. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that was my point, actually.
Oh, okay.
And like 10 years ago, there wasn't Dark Matter Radio, there wasn't KGRA, there wasn't the Fringe FM. We were all doing the same thing. But now that the internet is very that's the main thing. The internet has changed everything.
It sure has. And instant karma. People will track you down. They will look for your history. They will investigate you. Thank goodness. What was your point? Where are you going with this, buddy?
Well, the point is, you're going to hear some, like the whole basis of us doing this tonight is the fact that there's a lot of drama. I don't know if drama is quite...
Actually, I have been saying this. Check this out. This is my tweet. Dramatic stress syndrome. Dramatic stress syndrome. Yeah. It's not traumatic because it's not really messing with you, not really. But it is a bunch of hormones in a group.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I meant.
But that also goes back to drama-based mind control, because it's not trauma. Nobody's taking you in a room with a hose. You're not getting beaten. That's the real thing. This is more of a spiritual attack.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing: is there's a lot of, I've been doing this for about 2.5 years. Whether it's this show or Beyond the Strange with Dave Cruz, what have you, there is a new level of interference which only suggests to me that more people are paying attention to what we're talking about on these shows.
Yes, we have the spotlight with Secret Space Program with Trump. I mean, that turned a lot of heads this way that never would have looked before. And we are being, with yoga, I mean, that's part of us, all of that stuff. And Elon Musk is some kind of weird alien. That all of this pop culture is pointing straight at us.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, is whether it's, you know, I'm just going to be completely honest here, you know, whether it's Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, Clyde Lewis, Ground Zero, Coast to Coast, which I think we can all agree that, well, here's my opinion on Coast to Coast. I love George Norrie. In fact, I've actually jammed with him on multiple occasions at different conferences. That's all good. But here's the thing, is that Coast to Coast will not talk about certain things, and then you get to the next level, which is kind of like Fade to Black, where they'll talk about a little bit more, but at the same time, there's some topics that are sort of not, well,
we call it taboo. Some off the topic,
taboo.
No topic, yes.
They're just not going to talk about it. And then there's other shows like ours where we will talk about anything. And
well, let me tell you something that I found very, very deeply, it gave me a lot of knowledge about Mr. Church. I really respected him. So when he was on the Kevin Moore show, he said his first exposure to craziness, to conspiracy, to weird things in life like this was that he'd actually uncovered a ring, a child molester ring. Like he blew that open on his radio show. He was a sportscaster. And that was like his red pill. And I had a lot of compassion for him when I heard that. And I can see why maybe he's more conservative nowadays. Because he kept saying, you know, am I a superhero or am I a radio show host? And he had to make, you know, that choice.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a mind blower. I really, Kevin Moore's interview with him, I think it was in August.
Of this year?
Yeah, just this past summer. So what a wild interview. It's almost 2 hours. I listened to it the other day. So it's just Kevin Moore's very famous, even if you don't know who he is. And I think it's a .com, but he's also on Coast to Coast, of course.
Yeah, and of course he has his new show out on History Channel, which is called Breaking Mysteries.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. I wasn't aware. Thank you.
Actually, that might, you know, just full disclosure, the show came out in Canada around the world about 8 months ago. And for some reason, they delayed the release of the American version. And I know that they were talking about changing the name. So just full disclosure, that might not, you know, if you have, you know, if you have History Channel, you know, whatever, you have cable, that might not be what the show is called. I'm not sure what the American version is. But with Canadians and around the world, it is Breaking Mysteries. And that's Jimmy Church's show, which is, that was another frustrating thing, is they filmed all of those episodes like 2 years ago. And they're
my friend Tyler helped. And I met him completely unrelated. He's a Mason, and I met him through some Masonic stuff I had to mess with. Because I've been on a lot of missions since I got to L.A., so, yeah, it was funny that there was a Jimmy Church Mason connection in my own personal story.
Yeah, see? There you go. And,
shout out to Tyler.
All right, shout out to Tyler. And with that said, do you, you know, do you plan on staying in Southern California?
I plan on doing whatever God tells me to do.
Beautiful answer.
That's how I live.
Right on. Right on. All right, well.
You know I had to even pick a tarot card before I came on your show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always listen for God and ask God what's up. And it works for me.
Do it. Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume, dance, dance.
We will control all that you see and hear.
Mars needs women. Mars needs women. Is there life on